Now, graph the function y equal negative 3x squared. What are the domain and the range? So what is the function here? The function is y equal negative 3x squared. So what I have to do here? The first step, we have to make a table like this. But after, so I have the function. Make a table for x and y. Then put this points of x is from my mind. Or can say from me. Choose any point you want. As an example, I want to choose point 0, negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3. These are the points I want to choose them. Then after that, after I choose these points now, or after I chose this point, you have now to evaluate each point in the function. Y, the function is y equal negative 3x squared. Now, this is for the function. At point 0, what you have to say? Y of 0 is negative 3 times. Now, the point here is 0. What does it mean? That means I have to evaluate a 0 instead of x. Because my point here is 0. Don't forget the squared now. 0 squared 0 times negative 3 is 0. So that's mean now the y here is 0. This is the first point. Then the second point, negative 1. Y is negative 3x squared. This is my function. Y of negative 1, that's mean negative 3 times, but here instead of x, which number should I evaluate?
Negative 1.
Negative 1.
Negative 1.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Negative 1 squared. Because I'm talking about negative 1 now. Negative 1 squared is 1.
1.
Times
Yes.
negative 3.
1.
Don't forget, first you have to square negative 1, then multiplies by negative 3. So negative 1 squared is 1 times negative 3.
Negative 3.
Negative 3.
Negative 3.
So here now it is negative 3. Now let's talk about point negative 2. Y of negative 2. That's mean I evaluate x now with negative 2.
Negative 2.
Negative 2.
I will repeat. Don't forget, you have to square the negative 2, then multiply it by negative 3. Don't forget the pit mass. Exponents is the priority here is for the exponents, then for the multiplication. Now, negative 2 squared is what?
Positive 4.
Positive 4. Thank you. Times negative 3.
Negative 12.
Negative 12.
Negative 12.
So here the points is negative 12.
Negative 3.
This is negative 3 to make greater points. Yes. Negative 3. But I cannot
Negative
graph it
3.
here. Okay, y of negative 3 now is negative 3 times negative 3 squared. Negative 3 squared is 9 times negative 3. The answer is negative 27.
27.
Yes, this
Negative
is now.
27.
Now let's plot them on the xy plane here. 0, 0. So the first point here is 0, 0. Where's 0, 0? It's here. The second one
Yes.
now. -1, -3. Where's -1? This is -1. -1, -3. Here, okay, I will, let's now put -1, -2, -3, -4. Yeah, sorry, not negative, positive, I'm sorry. Here, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and so on. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here you have -1, -2, -3, -4, -6, and so on. Now, the first point we said it is 0, 0. So it is here. The second point now is -1, -3. Where is -1? Here is -1. -3, so it is here. Then -2, -12. Where's -2? Here is -2. Here, imagine that you have a -12, so it is here. Now, the last one now is -3, -27. Then, since it could be down here now. Then, after that, by the way, it must make a curve with me. If it's not a curve, if the points is coming here as an example, or the point is coming here, there's something wrong. It must make, after I plot them, it must make a curve. So let's now connect between the points. After I connect between the points, I want to make now, since I start with y, so since the axis of symmetry here is the y-axis, so this y-axis, it's make like a mirror for me. What does it mean? That means, imagine that you are in a mirror here, and you want to reflect this graph. What you have to do? You have to make it like them here. I mean, this point here, it must have a reflection point here, a reflection point here, and an reflection point here. Is it clear now? How can we graph the function?
Yes, teacher. Yes.
Now,
Yes, teacher.
look at here now. Since the function is y equal -3 x squared, I told you that when the coefficients of the graph of the function is negative, what does it mean? Shall the U curve open their hands upward or downward?
Downward.
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 And this is my graph will be. So that is correct. Since now the sign of negative of the 3 here is negative, that means it's gonna be downward. It cannot be upward. Now let's find now, after we graph the function, let's find now the domain and the range. Here now, the domain is the x-axis and the range is the y-axis. Now, where's the domain? To look at the domain, look at the x-axis here. This is the domain. What's the domain? The domain is the y. It's mean the points or the values of x. Look at the values of x. I can choose any point. As you see, it's opened. What does it mean? That's mean here the domain is all real number. So the domain here is what now? Is all real number. Why? Because so the domain here now is all real number. I will repeat. The domain is the x I mean the x-axis. Where's the domain here? Look at the x-axis. Do you have any problem with it?
No.
No. So I say all real points. Now, in this lesson here, if you ask, I'm asking you about the domain, all the domain, you tell me all real points. Okay? For this lesson, the domain here is all real points. There's no problem with it. Yani, if I ask you about the domain, tell me all real points. But the range now will be changed according to the question. So all the domains are real points. But look at now the range. How can we find the range?
It's from 0 until negative infinity.
Now, so to find now the range here, look at my graph. Where's the graph? It is here. Okay. Now look at the points of the y-axis, not the x-axis, the y-axis. Look at them here. Is it 0, -3, -6, and so on? So what does it mean? That's mean y is all the points of y are greater than or equal, or sorry, are
Less than.
Or less than.
yes, أيوة. So all the points of y are less than or equal 0. All the points are less than 0. So this will be now the range. So for the domain, I look at the x-axis. The x-axis here. When I put my points here, when you choose any point, did you say, no, I don't want to choose near -4 or 4? No, you choose any point you want. So you choose any point from the real numbers. So what does it mean? That means the domain is all the real number. But the range, for the range, I have to look at my graph. Where's my graph? It is on the negative y-axis. Since I'm talking about range, so I'm talking about y points, the values of y. Here, all real numbers, or sometimes it's written like this. X is all real numbers. That means that I can choose any point for the x. But for the range, I'm looking at the y values. Here I have 0, here I have -3, -6, negative, and so on. So that means the y is less than 0. Or look at the table here. You can make it from the table. Look at the table. 0, -3, -12, -27. So what does it mean? The highest point here is is 0. So I will say now all the points is less than 0. Let's do another example. Do you have any problem for this one?
No, teacher, thank you.
No, thank you, teacher.
Okay, you're welcome. Let's do now this question here.
No, teacher, everything is clear.
Alhamdulillah. A graph each function, then identify the domain and the range of the function. Look at this one here. F of x equal 3x squared. The same steps. Make a table. Sorry. So make a table like this. X, Y. 0, 1, 2. I can stop here. There's no problem. So this is now for the x and for the y points. I choose these points 0, 1, 2. Now, f of x is 3x squared. So f of 0, look here, I substitute or I evaluate x with 0. For this one, I evaluate x with 1. And for this f of 2, if I told you f of x is 3x squared. So f of 2 is 2 squared. F of x is 3x squared. So f of 1 is 1 squared. So you have now to change. Since now I change x with 0, so you have to change any x with 0. Here, since I changed x with 1, so you have to change any x with 1. And here also with 2. Then 0 squared is 0 times 3, 0. 1 squared is 1 times 3 is 3. 2 squared,
4,
4 times 3,
12.
12.
So these are the points now here. Yeah, now let's plot them on the graph. 0, 0. 1, 3. 1, 3. Now who can tell me, is the shape open their hands upward or downward according to the coefficients of 3?
Upwards.
Upward.
Upward, thank you. Then 2, 12. Could be up here. Then after that, now connects between these points. After you connect between them, make a reflection like this. This is my graph now. Now after that, let's make the domain and the range.
Teacher,
Yes?
and teacher, the graph must be not like, must be to be like linear or
No,
a
no,
straight
it's
line.
it's only U-shaped because it is a quadratic function. Since it's a quadratic, it must be U-shaped. If it is a 3x only, it will be linear. But if it's a 3x squared, it have a U shape like this. If it's a 3x cubic, it will be like this. But later on you will talk about them.
Okay.
So this is only U shape. The graph of it now only a U shape. Now let's continue to find the domain and the range. Now, as I told you, what is the domain here?
All real numbers.
All real
Yes.
numbers.
All real numbers.
All real number.
Real numbers. Now, look at the range. The range is I'm looking at
1 greater than 0.
Yeah. So now here I say that y is greater than or equal 0. Greater
Yes.
than or equal 0. That means all the points here are greater than 0. Let's connect them now between what did I say before? When I told you that if the shape has a positive 3x squared, when it's open their hands upward, I told you that 0 is what? Is the minimum point. Is it right?
Yes.
So that's mean all the points are greater than 0, and this is my range. But for the previous one here, this is the previous one. This one, yeah. For this one here, since now the Wait, please. Since now here the sign of -3 of x squared, the coefficient is negative. That's mean it's open their hands downward. That's mean 0 is the greater points. So the vertex is the highest point. Since now the 0 is the greatest point, so all the points is less than 0. Is it right? Mish, I told you that. You told me that here, since it has a negative sign, so 0 is the highest point.
Yes.
Because the 0 is the highest point, so all the points is what? Less than 0. Or sorry, or the points are less than 0. So that's mean the range here is y is less than 0. Okay. I think that's understood. Don't read what is written up. Look at me here. Imagine now, okay, you throw a ball upward like this. You have a ball and you throw it upward. Okay? Now, when it's the ball reach this point, what did we call this point? Is it the maximum or the minimum point?
Maximum.
Maximum.
Maximum point. Now, since this point is the maximum point, so anything that is under it, okay,
It's negative.
less than this maximum point. I mean that everything's here. If there's a car, if there's a ball, if there's a